Hello friends, welcome back to the journey of microbiology. We started discussing about the chapter, the second unit of microbiology, that's called the general characteristics of microbes. In this particular chapter, we discussed about some of the microbes like bacteria, viruses, and today it's time to discuss about the fungi. Okay, so in this lecture we will use one term called mycology. Mycology is basically the study of fungi, okay, their structure, their development, growth, reproductions, along with their disease causing capacity, that's called the pathogenicity. Okay, so see the lecture outline. In previous lectures we already covered about the structure and classification of microbes, morphological type, size and form of bacteria, motility, colonization, growth and nutrients of microbes. See, the growth and nutrients of microbes are diverse, okay, like it's a bacteria, we have the viruses, we have protozoa, we have prions, and we have fungi, the major 5 groups. Okay, in these 5 groups we already discussed about the bacteria as well as the viruses. Today we will cover about the fungi. In our further lectures we will cover about the protozoa, that's majorly the parasite, and the prions. Okay, so now let's see the slide. The mycology and parasitology. Mycology, as I told, it's a study of fungi. Good, it's a study of fungi. Whereas the parasitology is a study of the parasite. Parasite means who live on our body or in the body. It may be the exoparasites or endoparasite. Okay, so see the slide. The parasitology and mycology. As you know that in our previous lectures, initial lectures, we understood that there is classification system. For ease of study, various microbiologists, they put their effort, and those efforts are really admirable, it's appreciable, okay, and they divided the organisms into the various categories on the different basis. Okay, in that we discussed about one classification. Okay, that classification is called the 5 kingdom classification, given by the, okay, very good, R.H. Whitaker. It's a R.H. Whitaker 5 kingdom classification. In that classifications they included 5 things. Okay, they included the 5 groups. The first group is bacteria, another one is protozoa, third one is fungi, fourth one is plant, and fifth one is animalia. Okay, these are the 5 kingdoms. So fungi is one of the kingdom. Okay, if we take the consideration from the R.H. Whitaker classification, okay, R.H. Whitaker classification, fungi are fall in the group of itself the fungi. Okay, fungi. Okay, now we already also seen the another type of classification. That classification is the domain type. Okay, domain based classifications. Okay, and that was given by the Carl Woese. That was given by the Carl Woese. Okay, so according to Klaus Woese, the fungi fall into the domain of the eukarya. Clear? According to R.H. Whitaker, it's a fungi, and according to Carl Woese, the domain classification system, the 3 division they made in the eukarya, the fungi are classified. If for your knowledge purpose only, in the initial classification time, you know, like the Aristotle's, okay, when they came, the Carolus Linnaeus, they think, okay, the fungal characteristics, the fungi characteristics is very much similar to the plants. Okay, so previously, like the innovations are not there, so on that time the fungi are kept along with the plants. In the plant kingdoms. Okay, and that classification comes from the Aristotle, or we can say the Carolus Carolus Linnaeus. Linnaeus, they tapped into the plant. Now we are discussing microbiology, okay, for medical microbiology. Basically we are discussing the medical biology. So for that, you understood this classification? Okay. Now for dividing the microbes for clinical point of view, for clinical significance, microbes are classified, and the microbes which we are discussing right now is the fungi. So fungi is classified, okay, for medical disease causing ability, okay. All the diseases which is caused by the fungi, they are known as mycosis. Okay, all the diseases which is caused by the fungi, they are called as mycosis, okay. So on this basis they are classified, okay. Some of the fungi, they only cause the superficial, we can say, the infection. And that type of fungi which basically affect only the epidermis, okay, which basically affect the epidermis, they are called as the cutaneous fungi, okay. Some of the fungi have capability to invade deeper layer of the skin, okay, invade the deeper layer of skin, okay. Like epidermis, we have the subcutaneous tissue, so they are simply known as subcutaneous fungi. Clear? They are known as subcutaneous fungi. Now there are some also category of fungi which can cause the deeper level, which can invade our sterilized organs like kidney, spleen, liver, okay. These are some of the sterilized organs, okay. They can also goes there and cause the infections, okay. So that type of infections causing fungi, they are called the systematic fungi. Systematic fungi, okay. Basically that's called the systematic mycosis, and the fungi is called the systematic fungi, okay. Now let me tell you again. See, we seen there are different classification of fungi, okay. Now for us, for a medical point of view, this type of classification is needed, okay. So fungi, all the disease which is caused by the fungi, they are called, that is called the mycosis, okay. That is called the mycosis. See, mycosis is divided on the basis of infecting the parts of the body, okay. Like if they affect the epidermal layer of our skin, that's called the cutaneous fungi, cutaneous fungal infection, cutaneous mycosis, okay, cutaneous mycosis. Then we have subcutaneous tissue. If that is affected, they are called as subcutaneous fungi or subcutaneous mycosis, okay. Then we have systematic mycosis, which is caused by the systematic fungi. Clear? This is a deeper level, this is a middle level, and this is a superficial level. Clear? Now after discussing the classification, we are at the point where we can discuss about their general characteristics. So for their general characteristics, you know, fungi is, okay, let me write general characteristics. See, you know, bacteria, virus, fungi, these three things, bacteria and fungi is one hand, they are the what? Prokaryotes. They are the prokaryotes, whereas the fungi, they come in our category. We are eukaryotes, fungi are also eukaryotes, okay. They are the simplest eukaryotes. Now you understand, okay, this is a eukaryote, but what it means, it means they have well-defined nucleus. They have well-defined nucleus. Okay, they have well-defined nucleus. That's one characteristics. Now, second things, they are not more differentiated from the plant. They are not so much different from the plant, and also they are not so much close to the bacteria. It means it is in between. It is in between. So it's not too much differentiated. Differentiation means different organization. Different organization, like we have molecules, then we have molecules aggregate, they form the organelles, then we have the cell, then cell aggregate form the tissue aggregate form the organ, and the so much organs becomes one organ system. So for in the case of the fungi, they don't show too much differentiation. Okay, too much differentiation. That's one characteristics. Another, till now 50,000, how much? 50,000 fungi are identified. Okay, don't afraid with these numbers. Not all are the effective, not all are the infective, not all are our dushman. Okay, some of are the beneficial use, as I already told that there are breads, beers, so many types of antibiotics, and along with those paneer, cheese, everything is obtained from the yeast, which is under the discussion of the fungi. All are the fungi. Okay, so till now 50,000 we can say the fungi is discovered, described, classified. Among all these things, only 200 have the capability to cause a disease in human. Cause a disease in human. Clear? To cause a disease in human. Okay? 50,000, out of 50,000 only 2,000 have the capability to cause a disease. That's the one point. Another thing, like we understood, okay, bacterial cell wall. Okay, bacterial cell wall is made up of the peptidoglycan. As you remember, the proteins and carbohydrate chains they formed. Okay, but in the case of like in the case of fungi, which is a eukaryotic cell, their cell membrane is made up of chitin. Remember this word, chitin. Why I am emphasizing, why I am forcing on here? Because if the fungal cell wall is made up of the chitin, it won't like sensitive towards the antibiotic. The antibiotics, they are no more working here. You cannot kill the fungi by the use of antibiotics. Why? Because their cell membrane is different. The cell membrane composition is different. Okay, but we know, okay, fungal diseases are curable. Okay, almost all the fungal diseases are curable. It means there are some drugs. Okay, they can somewhere like interfere, there some mechanism interfere and they suspend or either they kill their growth. Okay, yeah, we have antifungal medicines. Antifungal medicine, or we can say the agents. Now, the chitin is basically, if chemically you ask, this chitin is basically iragoesterol. Chemical wise, they are the iragoesterol, a derivative of carbohydrates. Okay, the glycans. See, these iragoesterols is a mature state. Okay, it's a mature state. So what happened? These antifungal medicines, they interfere with their chemical composition. Means ultimately they interfere with chitin, means they interfere with their cell membrane. Okay, and they make pores, the holes, they make the pores, and due to the formation of poles, their cell wall width degrade, okay, and then eventually they die. That's a mechanism of antifungal medicines. Not all antifungal medicine. For this type of mechanism, you heard about the drug called amphotericin B. We have keratinozole. Okay, the action of this enzyme, the action of these drugs, the amphotericin B and keratinozoles, they will disrupt their cell wall, make the hole, and eventually the fungi will die. That's the one aspect about the medical significance of their cell wall. Now, without eating no one can grow, not us also. So about their nutrition, खाना सबको चाहिए, okay, for growth and metabolism. Everyone need the food. So fungi also need food, but they need dead food. Okay, so for obtaining those dead organic food, there is one term described, that's called the saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition. Remember 2 points. First is autotrophs and heterotrophs. Okay, autotrophs, basically the plants and some of the bacteria are the autotrophs, means they prepare their own food. Okay, they are not dependent on anyone. Okay, but there are called something heterotrophs. Heterotrophs means either they can take food from the another animals. Okay, means they are dependent. Heterotrophs are dependent for food, whereas the autotrophs, they are not dependent. Okay, so saprophytic nutrition is a type of heterotrophic nutrition. It's the one subtype of heterotrophic nutrition in which it need the dead organic matter. Okay, dead organic matter. Now, there are prevalence of dead organic matter. In the nature. Okay, but they cannot directly engulf these fungi. वो सीधा नहीं खा सकते हैं उसको. They need their solubilized form. They need what? Their solubilized form. The saprophytic nutrition, soluble nutrients. Okay, they need the soluble nutrients. So for making these dead organic material into the soluble nutrients, fungi have to do something. Okay, the human are not so much merciful that they can make the soluble food and give to the fungi. That's not possible. No other animals also. Okay, so fungi itself have to do something. They are doing. What they are doing? They are secreting some of the enzymes. Which goes to this dead organic matter. Okay, and they make their soluble nutrients so that fungi can take it without any the fluctuation. They can eat it. Clear? So saprotrophic nutrition is present in the fungi. Clear? It's a type of heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, in this type of nutrition, fungi secrete some of the enzymes which degrade these dead organic materials, make it solubilized so that fungi can easily take the nutritions. Clear? Now, after discussing their nutrition, we can say more specifically the mode of nutrition. Now we have to talk about their home, basically their habitat. Okay, so naturally a fungal habitat. Okay, fungal habitat is either soil or good water. naturally, either they will found easily in the soil or water. Okay, now what happened, due to the so much exposure to the soil or water, not only humans, the other lower creature also got affected by the fungi, That's the one point. Second point is, till now microbiologists said every creature is prone towards the fungal infection. Okay, every creature is prone towards the fungal infections. Okay, monkey also have the fungal infections. Other, like we can talk about the dogs, we can talk about the cats, we can talk about us, the human beings. Everyone is prone or sensitive towards the fungal infection. Clear? Now, after discussing their home, we will discuss their after discussing the home, we will discuss about their growth. Okay, growth and metabolism. Now see, growth, as you know, it's like a development. Okay, छोटा से बड़ा होना, it's like a development. So for fungi, they generally shows the three types of growth pattern. You know, like there is one tendency, as I observed, there is one tendency. Everyone knew their nutrition. As far as the lower organism is concerned, they use nutritions. After taking the nutritions, they want to enhance their population and the heredity. Okay, first they take the nutritions, they grow their self, then they make the population, and they just leave their heredity, their, we can say, population. Fungi also do the same things. They are not sterile. Okay, they have the capability to cause to enhance their progeny. Okay, so for that they show the three types. Okay, in the previous classes, you are aware with these terms. The first one is called the budding. Okay, second one is the mold, the growth pattern, and third one they also show the sexual reproduction. Clear? They show the budding, mold, and sexual reproductions. Okay, in the budding, what happened, it's commonly seen in the one type of fungi, that's called the yeast. What happened, yeast will grow. Okay, yeast will grow, and they produce one part, that's called the bud, and after some time that attached part eventually fall down and being a new yeast. Like see, this is one yeast. Okay, and after getting appropriate nutrition, everything, they develop one kind of bud. Okay, initially it was like the low, it was like a small, we can say, outgrowth. Then slowly it becomes big, and after that sometimes they detach. Okay, so basically budding is also one type of asexual reproduction. Here there is no need of the two types of, we can the sex gamete. There is need of only one. So it is only a type of asexual reproduction. That's called the budding process. Okay, that's called the budding process. So now if I describe these two, it's good to first just read the slides. Okay, read the slide lines. Mycology and parasitology. Fungi are microorganisms in the domain Eukarya. Class was classification. Okay, they shows less differentiations than plant, but a higher degree of organization than the prokaryotes bacteria. The kingdom of fungi, Mycota, comprises over 50,000 different species, but only about 200 of which have been identified as a human pathogen. Fungi are diverse group. Fungi are diverse group of saprophytic and parasitic organism. Humans fungal diseases is called mycosis and classified on the basis of location or in the body where the infections occur. So classification goes like the same as I told. The fungal pathogenic like species are classified on broadly onto the two group. Okay, let me classify it once again, because as far as this medical science is concerned, we have to only accept their classification which is beneficial for our clinical purpose, See, classification. Fungi are classified. Okay, fungi are classified either true mycosis, like true fungi, and one is opportunistic fungi. I will just tell you the difference. True fungi or true mycosis are those fungi or those group of disease which can occur to any humans. Okay, which can occur to any humans. It doesn't depends upon anything. But whereas the opportunistic fungi are those fungi which can occur in the immunocompromised patient or a person. Understood? Here is need of one criteria, that's called the immunocompromised, or some underlying diseases like diabetes. Okay, they all are prone towards capturing some of kind of fungi, and those category of fungi are called the opportunistic fungi. Okay, the HIV patients, they are also prone towards this category of fungi. So now see the slide. In the pathogenic fungi, we discussed that some of cause the superficial layer of the skin, only damage the epidermis. That's called the cutaneous infectious agent. Cutaneous infective agents. Okay, 3 species is known. Okay, write down these names: Epidermophyton species, Mycosporum species, and Trichophyton species. They cause the epidermal layer infections or epidermal layer mycosis. Clear? Epidermal layer mycosis. Okay. Then our another layer of skin, that's called the subcutaneous infectious agent. Okay, subcutaneous infectious agent, which is another subclass of true pathogens or true mycosis. The causative fungi, the name is like this: Acidinomadura madurae, okay, Cladosporium, Madurelia gracia, Phallospora, Sporothrix escheni. Okay, see, okay, I will take one name and show you. See, like Epidermophyton. Okay, Epidermophyton. See, you seen the names, they consist of the two words. Like, for examples, we have the Actinomadura madurae. Actinomadura madurae. See, you know, like two classification system. Okay, two system classification given by the Carlier Lins. The first one represent their genera, the genes where it comes from. Okay, and the another name represent the species. Okay, every biological species, like us human sapiens, Homo sapiens. Homo represent the genes and sapiens is our species. Same applied for here also. All the fungal names you seen, like it's like bothering. It's hard to remember. So just remember the first name represent the genera, okay, and the another name represent the species, okay, and these names are important. Okay. Now, the systematic infecting agents which can cause the organs, which can affect the organs, they are the blastomides, dermatitis, cochleoiditis, immitis, and so on. Now, we have the opportunistic pathogens. Some of the example is Aspergillus fumigatus, which is famous, and Candida albicans. The Candida albicans is like commensal. Candida albicans are like those kind of fungi which is living in us in commensal. Okay, they are living with us in like we can say the friendship manner. Okay, they are living in with a friendship manner, but when they become the over in number, they causes so many fungal infections also. So now there is one slide you seeing the differentiation between the fungi and bacteria. Okay, just read these slides. Now, characteristics of major fungal group. As we discussed that fungi are distinguished on the basis of their habitat, mode, reproductions, and all the stuff. Okay, now they have their cell wall and cell membrane. The fungal cell wall is made up of the chitin. You already understood that cell wall is made up of the chitin, and it is unaffected by the antibiotics. Fungal the membrane of the fungus contain the stress, we can say the ergosterol. Okay, and here the ergosterol, some of the antifungal drugs bind, and they make the pores in the cell walls, and eventually the fungi got died. See, ergosterol is a vital component of cell membrane of the fungi, and disruption of its biosynthesis result in the cell death. Clear? Now, their habit and nutrition. We already discussed that all fungi are heterotrophs. All fungi are heterotrophs, means they are dependent upon the dead organic matter for operating those soluble compounds, because they cannot engulf like the protozoa, so they need their soluble food. For the solubilizing of those nutrients, fungi secrete a degradative enzymes like cellulases, proteases, and nucleases. Okay, mark these words: cellulases, proteases, and nucleases into their immediate environment. The natural habitat of almost all fungi is the soil or water containing the decaying organic matter. Clear? Now, some fungi can be parasitic on the living organism. Some of the fungi can be living on the parasitic. Okay, the example is Trichophyton species, Aspergillus, and Candida. The three names, remember: Trichophyton, Aspergillus, and Candida. They are living as a parasite. They are living as a parasite in humans. Okay, now we are discussing the mode of fungal growth. So first see the slides. Most fungi exist one of the two basic morphological forms. Either they form the filamentous mold or a unicellular yeast, or dimorphic form. Okay, or dimorphic form. Some fungal species, especially those that causes systematic the mycosis, are dimorphic. Okay, are dimorphic, being usually yeast like in one environment and more like in another. Example of condition that affect the choice of morphology are temperature and carbon dioxide level. See, I will now leave the classification, come to their growth pattern. Because understanding the life cycles give the insight to how to tackle with that, how to manage those kind of specific kind of the growth patterns showing the bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, etc. Okay, so their growth patterns. So I told it's like the three types. The first one is the mold. Okay, mold or yeast. Another one is filamentous, and the another one shows the dimorphic. That's a growth pattern, not a reproduction pattern. That's a growth pattern. Reproduction pattern is like I told you, no, the reproduction they show either the asexual, that's a budding, or they show the sexual reproduction, the primitive type of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. See, in the mold or yeast, there is just a aggregation of there, like we can say the tissue, the aggregation of the tissue. If we take some mold fungi or yeast like the Saccharomyces cerevicus, they call the beaver yeast, you can grow on the culture media and you can easily observe their growth pattern. Okay, slowly their growth patterns will seen. In the case of filamentous, they form the hyphae. They form the hyphae, like see this kind of a structure, hyphae formation. Okay, and there are another group of fungi which exhibit both the mold and filamentous. The mold and filamentous. Mold and filamentous. This condition is called dimorphic. Dimorphic means double morphology, double appearance, both, either mold or filamentous, the both. Some of the time they are showing the filamentous according to their convenience. When their favorable situation is comes, they show the mold. Unfavorable situation comes, they form the filamentous. And one of the example of dimorphic, we can say fungi is Candida albicans. Candida albicans. Write down this word. Candida, C4, Candida albicans. Candida albicans. Okay, that's for the dimorphic growth. Now, as you see in the slide, now it's time to discuss the reproduction. Okay, reproduction. Sorry. So first I will discuss the budding. In the case of budding, what happens? See, this is one typical yeast. This is one typical yeast. You know, like we generally eating those, what is called, one of my favorite food, and that food is called the mushroom. So mushroom is also one kind of fungi. Mushroom is also one kind of fungi. So suppose this is one example of fungi, a typical structure of fungi. What happened in the case of budding? There one outgrowth start. You know, outgrowth start. Okay. See, and then after some times they become big. Okay, they detach from here and make their own fungi. This process is called budding. This process is called budding, a mode of asexual reproduction. First point. And these outgrowth they are called bud. Okay, bud. It's a germinating agent. It's a germinating agent. Okay. Now see the slide beautifully here. That's described like asexual sporulations. The conidia, the vesicles comes, then stigmata, and those candida. The sporulation process is basically done in the case of spore formation. Some of the fungi form the spores. Now, about the sexual type of reproductions, what happened in the case of sexual reproduction? You know, for the sexual reproductions, they need two kind of gamete. They need the two kind of gamete. Okay, they need the two kind of gamete. So suppose this is one fungi, okay, and it's another fungi. See, two compatible fungi, they will fuse. We can say positive, it's negative. Two kinds of fungi, they will fuse and produce one another kind of fungi. This type of is called the sexual reproduction. That's a sexual reproduction. Clear? Now, see the slide. These are the spores. These are the spores. Okay, male spores, female spores. Okay, these spores, they will fuse. Okay, and after fusing, they undergo the meiosis and they form the spores. Okay, so this type of spores, the sexual reproduction is basically shown by the ascospores, ascospores. Not all fungi is showing this kind of reproduction pattern. Clear? Now we have the last point about the fungi, how these fungi are clinically identified. How? So for clinical identifications, we have lab investigations. We have some of the lab investigations. So fungi lab diagnosis, or we can say basically is the identification of the fungi, how fungi is like diagnosed. See, fungi have the capability, it can grow in any kind of nutrient media. Okay, it can grow in any kind of nutrient media. Okay, it can grow in any kind of nutrient media. But for, like there is one famous agar, that's called the dextrose agar. It's the most favorable, or we can say the most appropriate nutrient media where we can grow the fungi. Okay, why? This question arises, why? The question is, it won't allow the growth of bacteria. See, if I am growing the fungi on this plate, okay, there is probability कि okay, इसके साथ along with these fungi, bacteria can also grow. Okay, but bacteria won't grow in the acidic environment. This kind of agar plate providing the highly acidic environment, so it will not allow the bacteria to grow along with the fungi. The second thing is, after growing, some of the bacteria can survive. The bacteria are mastered in the art of adaptation. They can adapt the highly acidic environment too. So for that, there are some antibiotics which is given to those agar plate, so that the bacterial population will destroy, only fungi can go. Okay, so now see the slide, the laboratory identification. Most fungi can be propagated on any nutrient agar plate. I told you the standard medium is sabourate dextrose agar. Mark this word, sabourate dextrose agar. Various antibacterial antibiotics can be also added to the medium to further inhibit the bacterial colony formation. Clinical sample may be used, the pus, blood, CSF, okay, sometimes the skins, okay, biopsy skins also. These are the samples where we can identify those fungi. Okay, now we have some of the serological test and monoclonal antibiotic test. Okay, by that also we can identify the fungi. So for concluding today's lectures, we discussed about the fungi. The kingdom of fungi is like mycota according to Carl Zuss, and according to R.S. Whitaker, it's the fungi. Okay, for the medical science point of view, of all fungi which causes the disease, they are called the mycosis. And mycosis are divided. There are some of the true pathogens, okay, and some of the opportunistic pathogens, some of the opportunistic fungal pathogens, and some of the true fungal pathogens. Then we discussed about their general characteristics, okay, their habitat, they can generally found in the soil and the water, their reproduction pattern, all these three kind of reproduction pattern, the sexual, asexual, and the sporulation process. Okay, then their growth patterns, either they form the mold or the filamentous, or they show both the dimorphic conditions. Okay, then we studied about their what we can say their habitat, okay, their growth patterns, their mode of we can say the mode of nutritions, what is called the saprophytic nutritions, or decaying dead organic matter nutritions. Okay, so thank you for having me. Bye bye, see you soon in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this video.